This is the message from Salva Dutt from A Long Walk to Water. In the back of the book, he wrote, "This book is based on the true story of my life. I hope that because of my book, more people will learn about the lost boys in the country of Sudan. I was born in a small village called Lone Arik in the Tonjun County of southern Sudan. And just as it says in the book, I stayed in the refugee camps in Ethiopia and Kenya for many years before I came to America. I am thankful to a great many people. The United Nations and the International Red Cross supported my life when I was in danger of starvation. The Moore family, St. Paul Episcopal Church, and the community of Rochester, New York welcomed me to the United States. I am also grateful for the education I received, especially at Monroe Community College. My deepest gratitude are to the people who have helped me with my project, Water for Sudan, Inc., the schools, churches, civic organizations, and individuals all over the country. A special thanks to the Board of Water for Sudan and the Rotary Clubs who work closely with me. My dreams of helping the people back home in Sudan are beginning to come true. I overcame all the difficult situations in my past because of the hope and perseverance that I had. I would not have made it without these two things. To young people, I would like to say, stay calm when things are hard or not going right with you. You will get through it with your perseverance instead of quitting. Quitting leads to much less happiness in life than perseverance and hope." Salva Dutt, Rochester, New York, 2010. So, in case you're wondering, Salva's story is true. Naya's was fictionalized. I think I told you guys from the start. The author made a note as well, just some highlights of it, that she says that some of the details in the story have been fictionalized, but the major events depicted are based on Salva's own experiences. I've written his accounts and interviewed him for many hours. I also read other books and accounts by other lost boys. For Naya's part of the story, I was able to interview travelers who had seen the water wells being drilled in villages like hers. I also benefited from examining their video footage and photographs. Known as the Second Sudanese War, the conflict depicted in the book began in 1983. Many factions were involved and numerous changes in leadership took place over the duration of the war, but in essence, the opposite sides were a Muslim-dominated government in the north and non-Muslim coalition in the south. Besides religion, economic strife was an important factor, as in the country's reserves of oils are located in the south. Millions of people were killed, imprisoned, tortured, kidnapped, or enslaved. Millions more were permanently displaced, unable to return to their homes. Among those displaced were hundreds of thousands of so-called lost boys, like Salva, who walked in desperation through southern Sudan, Ethiopia, and Kenya in search of a safe haven. Many of the lost boys were able to return home after the war found their families had vanished. Others languished in refugee camps like those Salva lived in. Some were eventually reunited with their loved ones, often after decades apart. In 2002, nearly 20 years after the war began, the United States government passed the Sudan Peace Act, officially accusing the Sudanese government of genocide and the deaths of more than 2 million people. 3 years later, a peace accord was signed between the North and the South. The South was granted autonomy, the ability to govern itself, for 6 years. In 2011, a referendum took place in which the citizens in southern Sudan voted to succeed, gaining in their independence from the North. Unrest over southern Sudan's oil and political leadership have rolled its infancy into the newest nation. The war in Darfur, the western part of Sudan, is a separate conflict not covered in the peace accord. Of this writing, the war is still being fought between two factions who identify themselves as Arabic and those who consider themselves African. The two wars, combined with several years of severe drought, have brought untold suffering to the people of Sudan. Salva has seen his family in Sudan twice more since the events of this story, including a moving reunion with his cousins, the children of Uncle Juwair. And amazingly, 7 of the lost boys who walked with Salva from Ethiopia to Kenya met up with him again and when they were relocated to the Rochester, New York area. As of spring 2014, Salva Dutt's nonprofit organization, Water for South Sudan, has drilled more than 250 wells in southern Sudan for Dinka and Nuer communities supplying fresh water for hundreds of thousands of people. The very first well was drilled in Salva's home village of Lone Arik. Salva moved to South Sudan in 2011 and now lives there. You can learn about the organization's work at waterforsouthernsudan.org. I first met Salva several years ago when my husband and I learned about the Water for South Sudan. In 2008 and 2015, my husband traveled to South Sudan to see Salva's work. I am grateful for his help in answering my endless questions. This story could not have been written without him. My family and I feel very fortunate to count Salva as a friend. It has truly been an honor to write this book for him. So this book was published in 2010, and since then many people have learned about Salva's journey, and Linda Sue Park is super proud of that. So I hope you guys really enjoyed our read aloud, and there'll be some activities and supporting videos to come soon on Google Classroom with it. Bye for now.